All right, this is part two of the Murad Muhammed interview that I told you I was gonna do two parts. The rest is on FightHype.com, so you can look it up. But I'm gonna go to the parts that I felt that was very important that the people should know. Okay, now this is about the breakup of Pacquiao and Murad Muhammad and the manager that he had, Rod Nazar, the one that passed and deceased. Um, I'm gonna start quote from what he said from now. Okay, now he's talking about the Eric Morales fight, and he says, "We hit a home run. HBO said we wouldn't do 175,000 pay-per-view buys, and some of the critics were saying that we wouldn't do that. We hit 400,000 for something. We made about $12 million in revenue, and guess what? They called me a thief. They told Pacquiao that I had a $40 million contract with HBO that I was hiding from him. Ross Greenberg wouldn't even give me a $5 million contract. They said that I was hiding $4 million extra from him and a lousy 30 grand from 3 men. A lousy 30 grand from two lawyers that came in from nowhere and Shelly Finkel and a rented navigator. They stole Pacquiao on the strength that Murad Muhammad, everybody tries to say that I stole, but they couldn't say that because they knew they had nowhere else to go. I never stole from any fighters. They said I didn't protect Pacquiao from his thief manager, Rod Nazario, and they brought me in the courtroom and tried to bring me in on that messed up charge. The thief manager, the one they tried to call a thief, had lent Pacquiao money, and if I can recollect, Pacquiao owed him $100 and some thousand before the fight with Eric Morales. He loaned that to him, so he had nothing to steal from. And they said that Nazario stole his tax money. Well, hell, what kind of taxes could they have been? Were they paying late taxes on it? Later on, they found out, but don't cause you to be a thief. They file their taxes every year. They said I tricked Pacquiao and created some company in America and all of this, and that killed the manager. He had a heart attack because he had a good name over there in the Philippines. He was one of the most honorable men, and I'm going to show you how honorable he was. And you can print this. Shelly Finkel said to me, "Murad, we can make a lot of money together." I said, "Shelly, my father taught me to marry a woman if you in love with her because a marriage is a lifetime. I don't marry a man that says one thing today and does something else tomorrow. I've seen you outright lie. I care not to have you as a partner." He said, "Well, I'm gonna make I'm going to cause you a lot of trouble." I said, "Bring it on." And they whispered in this kid's mind. The trainer, Freddie Roach, he was upset thinking I was beating Pacquiao out of money, but Pacquiao wouldn't tell him that he was making 200,000, 400,000, 500,000 because he didn't want to give the trainer 10% of the gross money. The fact that they tricked this kid to get away from me, and the kid caused problems for one of the most loyal human beings, Rod Nazario, that I've ever met in business. He comes from a family of loyalty. In America, that accusation stuff that can die out. But in the Philippines, he had to live with being called a thief and a robber, and he was one of the greatest fighters that ever lived in the Philippines. So the guy had a heart attack and he died a few months ago. I don't care what nobody says. Pacquiao killed him. He brought grief to his heart, and it's a shame, but there's nothing I could do about it. But in the courtroom, the only thing I could tell you, because if anybody else tells you what happened in that courtroom, they're liable for a lawsuit. So either they're lying or they're willing to take a risk of a lawsuit. But this judge was cold. Nobody knows what that settlement is, but I can tell you this. I believe I had him. He's like, we came in the courtroom. I turned to my lawyer and said, "Man, what is they doing in this courtroom?" And they said they taking a risk. So I went and doing my thing. I went to the window. I made a prayer. When the man walked over and said to me, they want to make it settle. They want to settle. He said, "This is a true story. Nobody got a lien on it." And he said, "Let's settle." My guy said to me, "Settle, are you out your mind? You got this case won. You did a magnificent job." I said, "I was taught by my father, a good name is better than gold. My name is bigger than money. Money comes and goes. I don't live in this world for money. I live in this world for a good character. I'm not a thief. I don't know what a jury might do, so if they want to settle, let's settle. And that's breaking the case. They attacked me for a week in a presentation. They brought up stuff about what I did as a youngster and how I supposedly robbed a boxer for the first time in my life. For the first time, he was going to make some money and he would be stealing some little tax money from Pacquiao. And, and he spoke broken English at that time, but I'm in cahoots with him now, and I'm going to let Bob Arum steal, not to give him my money, but to let him steal from Pacquiao too. I turned to Pacquiao and I said, God don't like ugly. You might win this case, but you're not going to win the war. I walked away from the case. I gave them what they wanted. I had one stipulation, and I'm sure I can't get sued for this, but I told them not to touch Rod Nazario. And I tell you what I gave for it. I can't tell you what I gave for it, but I can tell you it was one of my stipulations. You do not touch Rod Nazario. Now that man is deceased, but he was the most honorable man, and he was not tricky. He didn't know how to talk tricky. He was plain and right to the point. If this was the 30s, they would kill any individual that stands in the way of making big money. This is a modern technology times, and nobody wants to go to jail for murder. So they're going to come at you in a different way. And I used to tell them Pops, because I used to call him Pops, stop letting your baby come over here by himself. I knew they would poison his mind, and I don't blame Pacquiao at all. He comes from a third world country. So they did this big thing of putting him in luxury cars, taking him to hotels and trains, and all of these different things. And you don't think you can put him in a mansion? I could have put him anywhere he wanted to. He didn't want a mansion. He wanted to sleep on the floor with all his friends. And he wanted to be there with all his people. He wanted to stay in these luxury suites. So all of them saying I stole a suite from him was ridiculous. And he's like, I've been in suites my whole life. I've been in Michael Jackson's suite. And old Blue Eyes, I've been in his suites. I've been in the best suites in the world. Why would I steal Manny Pacquiao's suite? That's a lie. But they had to fabricate it, and these diabolical writers feeding the Filipinos those lies. They had to, because Filipinos love Murad. I had 60,000 people in the Philippines screaming, thank you, Murad. You must be a good Christian. And I tell Muslims today, I don't wear our religion on our sleeve. A man's character, whether he's a Christian, Muslim, or a Jew, is supposed to be a good character. So if I'm a Christian country like America and someone says, my God, you're a good Christian, I take it as a compliment because it's a Christian country. Now, if I was in an Islamic country and they said, my God, you're a great Christian, now I'll take it as an insult. But if I was a Christian in an Islamic country and they say, my God, you're a good Muslim, then I would take it as a compliment. Everybody's character is supposed to be a good character, good, decent human beings. So I treat people the way I wanted to be treated. I love the Philippines. I had people in pictures with the president. My arm was around the president. The FBI said I was the cleanest one in boxes, and they never caught me for anything, but yet I'm the crook. Only one man had a license in New Jersey. One man, when they checked his bank accounts, my mother's, my father's, my sister's, my wife, I went through 4 years of scrutiny. 4 years of coming behind the desk. 4 years of opening my checkbooks, taking checks out to find that I wasn't involved in anything illegal. I received those licenses that they called casino control license. Don King went for them and ran. Aram never filed for them. But someone said he did and wouldn't go all the way. I can go under oath and tell you anything. Now, I did this in English just because I want you guys to hear it over in the Philippines. Some of you guys can't really read the English language that well, so I want to just give you some audio on some of the things that's been going on behind the scenes of boxing. But that was a righteous guy, and he still is. Murad Muhammed is for real, and I'm glad he's back. Hope he's getting back in the game because they need him.